Okay, great to be here. I'm the CEO and founder of Truthset. We're a 2-year-old company. Similar to Timur, we also focus on the problem of data quality. While I think Timur, his company, as we just learned, focuses heavily on certification across a variety of dimensions that all feed into data quality. If that's fair, Timur, we focused exclusively on the accuracy of record level data. So my team is staffed with a bunch of folks who spent a couple of decades in marketing and have been here for the transition of everything to digital, record level, consumer data driven applications for understanding consumers and understanding how to reach them effectively. What we saw over those combined probably 60 or 70 years of work is that the fuel source that we're all using is pretty weak. And while the systems are great, the actual data that we're using to feed into things like target applications, CRM applications, and so on, DMPs, is actually extraordinarily poor. I saw this at Nielsen for 7 years, evaluating lots and lots of different data sets. And so we set up to solve that problem by developing a system that can actually measure the accuracy of record level consumer data at scale. And that data then feeds into any application and improves the performance. When we studied the quality of data across, in this case, hundreds of data providers, we saw some pretty ridiculous stats come out of that. In one segment of age and gender, we saw more than 1 billion IDs that were supposedly available for targeting. In the gender segment alone, across 75 providers, we measured the average accuracy of those providers at getting gender right at only 61%. And this is for an attribute which is already 50% accurate, give or take, with random distribution. So only an improvement of 11% across 75 providers whose job it is to get gender right when associating IDs with attributes. And then when you move over to age, it's even worse. Across 132 providers that we directly measured on a record by record basis, we saw that the accuracy was only 32%. So if you're, for example, targeting 18 to 24-year-olds or 24 to 25 to 49-year-olds, you're going to get a lot of records that you're targeting and spending money on that are not in your targeted segment. So this has implications for cost. One example is in targeting, although when you think about all the applications that are data driven, when you think about that amount of error going into those applications, whether it's a CRM enrichment process for a first party data asset or for targeting, there's a lot of different places where that waste that I just described is causing extremely poor outcomes based on data inaccuracy. In the case of targeting, here's an example that we ran for a client, a study for a brand targeting Hispanics, and using the commonly available Hispanic segments available in the trading systems and the DSPs. They were able to pay 85 cents for a segment that was supposed to contain Hispanics. When we analyzed the actual accuracy of the IDs that they were buying, we saw that there was tremendous waste. I think about 70% waste. 70% of those IDs were not Hispanic, which drove the actual CPM from 85 cents on a data cost to $5.46. And this just gets extrapolated and made worse when you push it out to the media expense as well. So how do we do this? How do you get an accuracy score for every ID at a census level? Well, what we did, instead of building our own data asset, is we went to all the leading providers of record level data, folks like Epsilon, Axiom, Experian, and we asked them to hand over all their data so that we could study it and put it into a system that we compare agreement rates, look at the evidence for each assertion, and then produce an output, which is essentially a score of how likely a record is to be what you think it is. So we take all that data, we run it against validation sets, and we produce what we call truth scores, which is a 0 to 1 assessment of accuracy at the record level. At census level, we have 90% coverage of all of the digital IDs right now in the US, which means that we can tell you how likely any ID is to be female, to be 18 to 24, to have a pet in the home, or a new mom, or whatever the attribute is you're targeting. We actually have an assessment of how likely that particular ID and attribute is to be true. Here. So the result of that process is essentially a huge table. We have about 850 million digital IDs in the form of hashed email addresses, and we have literally billions of these truth scores resting on every ID. So if you just look at the top row, there's an ID, hashed email 123. This email address, this identity has a 2% chance of being male and a 98% chance of being female, and on and on and on. And we have concatenations and combinations of demographics. So for example, if you're looking for new moms, that would be the likelihood of being female with a child in the home of a certain age. So this table is now portable. It's available to essentially put against any data set in any environment to understand the accuracy of it. So, we can put it against a first party data set and literally tell you which records are good and which records are bad. We can put this against a targeting segment or a data provider and tell you what percentage of their records are high quality, which ones should not be qualified for a given operation. In a DSP environment where you're looking at segments, we can literally separate the wheat from the chaff. We can literally find the needles in the haystacks and make sure that you're spending money on exactly the targets that you want, and allow you to toggle accuracy and scale to make sure that you hit your reach targets. So for data providers, yep, we have all these guys. We help them understand their own accuracy, differentiate quality, and build high octane segments for platforms and publishers. They can build better audiences. They can evaluate any segment, first or third party, that they're using to compose audiences for clients. And for advertisers and agencies, they can report with extreme granularity down to the record level how likely they are to be reaching the targets they're trying to reach. And these are all available through dashboards that we deliver to clients. Dashboards, incredible facility to understand exactly what placements, what tactics are delivering high on target percentage for targeted segments, which not, and allow easy optimization in whatever DSP or buying environment that you happen to be in. So that at the end of the day, you know that you're working with qualified records, and that all of your operations, data-driven operations, whether it's marketing or first-party data enrichment, that you're dealing with actual accurate data and making the best possible decisions.